we have to talk about addiction, but not addiction to caffeine, although on my ride to go play basketball and back, I passed around 4 drug dispensaries that they call coffee shops, and alcohol. We're actually talking about food and cocaine. And you might be thinking, why are we talking about food and cocaine? Well, there is a reason for it. Now, interestingly, a lot of you probably were not around here years ago when I was doing cooking videos, believe it or not, on this channel on a regular basis. And one of the things that transformed my own health was my own cooking journey, learning how to cook healthier things at home. And a lot of that actually came from watching the Food Network. And I learned a lot, but what I learned, especially in restaurants and having some family who's kind of in that space, we learned that like a combination of salt, sugar, and fat creates a cocaine response, a dopamine spot that is similar to taking cocaine in the brain. And we wonder why, it's tough to get off of these foods. And like, if you think about it, if you go back a little bit, like when most Americans were growing their own food before kind of the food industry became what it is, and we took foods apart and, created, new products that had individual nutrients like, processed sugar and, extracted fats that we're putting into things. These things were not happening. And this is a longer conversation on nutrition as far as calories, fats, and protein, but that's not the conversation we have to go to today. The point is, though, in these restaurants, what they look for, and what they look for in the processed food industry, is creating a specific combination of processed sugars, fats, and salt to create a cocaine response in the brain. So, it's not like you sit down and, you have one chip, you have half a bag, or you have the whole bag, because it is quite literally addictive. And that's intentional. These things are known. They want you to go back for more, and especially when you're talking about processed sugars and sodium chloride, table salt, and things like that, they want you to keep going back for more and to quench that satiating hunger that never really gets there. So now you go to the grocery store, and somewhere like 80 to 90% of all food in the grocery store is processed to some degree, and you're going to have, again, processed sugars, fats, and processed salts, iodized salts, that are going to create, again, a cocaine response in the brain. Now you take that another step if you've ever been to a restaurant, say with friends, and maybe you're having a good time, and then once the food comes, everyone goes silent. That is the cocaine response. It's not that you can't enjoy it, it's that now you're not eating with one hand, you're eating with 2 hands, and you can't stop until you're done. That is an addictive type of response, to food. So, this creates like a bigger thing now, because now we know that most people are eating in their car, really not even enjoying the food itself. They just want that hit. They want that craving for salt, sugar, or fat that then leads to a vicious cycle. And then now we're talking about issues with blood sugar and stress responses, and it becomes a downward cycle. It leads to feelings of depression, anxiety on the back end, because when you get a cocaine spike, there is a spike or a drop, I should say, that comes on the back end of that. And we're wondering why we're seeing a lot of anxiety, depression, and inability to focus, and all these things in between. And so much of it is coming from either eating out, but primarily like a lot of foods that do not occur as they do in nature. And breaking that is hard. Breaking any addiction is hard. It's not fun. Detoxing sometimes is not the most fun thing. But the problem is, we have to first be aware of it, be willing to take the long game approach with it, and then act in accordance and give yourself the time you need to get there, whether it's weeks, months, years. Listen, I hope that makes sense. It is a process. I get it. The food system is a big issue, but we have to start somewhere. So I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday.